So they have an update on Jalen Duren, pretty much saying that, Jalen Duren is he don't have any suitors right now. So he don't have any suitors right now for Jalen Duren. Am I surprised by that? No, because the Pistons have maintained the fact that they weren't trading him and he gonna be here. And now I don't know what kind of and I guess I asked Google AI. I don't know what makes the fact where some rookies are restricted free agents and some not. I never really thought about asking that. But if he wasn't restricted, I believe he would have been already gone. Okay, but let's go.
There's been zero progress since the last time we talked about this. I believe it was maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe around the time of Summer League, of they were having discussions and the sides were very far apart. Nothing has really changed on that. The Pistons offer is pretty much what it is. It's somewhere in that $30 to $35 million annually range. They don't want to go above that for Jalen Duren. They don't view him as a max level guy as him and his camp do, and that's why the situation is going to continue to drag on. It's going to go on to late August, possibly early September, maybe even late September, and then past training camp. Maybe this still isn't figured out then, and it's just closer to the start of the season. But I've heard nothing about signing trades. The Pistons are not interested in that. And everybody I talk to says Jalen Duren is not going to be taking the qualifying offer, that they think he would be absolutely crazy to do so. I tend to agree. I mean, you're an all-star, all-NBA talent. You're going to take the qualifying offer. That's a major risk for you to do, especially as a center where there's more wear and tear for those guys in this league than guards and wings. And so we'll see what happens. The Pistons do not want to go more than $35 million for Jalen Duren. I think that somewhere in that $32, $33 million range is very fair value for him, whether it's a 3-year, 4-year deal. And we'll just kind of wait and see what happens. That's kind of where we're at with this restricted free agency and what the holdup is. It's just two sides that are very far apart, and there's really no middle ground right now. They're just very far apart on these discussions.
All right, so you heard what he says. They're very far apart on the discussions. 30 to 40 million is the range. I think the more you get closer to 40 or above 40 million, I think you start to prorate the years. Basically what I mean by that, you start to hear pretty much you going down to 2-3 years. That's what you're going down to, 2-3 years. 4 years. He might not get the whole 5. You know what I mean? He might get 2 in the player option. Maybe they do a 1-and-1. I don't know. But ultimately, I think some of the people's has a PSTD. Hopefully, I said that right. When it kind of comes to him from the fact of that Andre Drummond got his money and got contempt. Now Jalen Duren may argue me and Duren are two different, or me and Andre Drummond are two different people. So you can't really put him on me. You know what I mean? And I agree with that. I agree. You can't really say, hey man, this guy, because this guy did this, don't mean I'm gonna do it. But in general, it's a sticky situation, bro, because the way they drug this out, and it's no way it couldn't have been public, because it can't be public, because people still gonna be wondering, why ain't Duren signed? And they maintained that they didn't want to trade him. Now, the fact of the matter is, baby, with free agency being, after the draft in the NBA, I think it's after the draft. I mean, maybe they feel like they couldn't find nobody. Maybe they feel like they couldn't find nobody to fill that void already. You had already dumped Isaiah Stewart, which apparently he did a video talking about, or he did an interview talking about he couldn't. I did a video already on it. He already did an interview talking about he couldn't wait to get traded. He prayed to get traded. Him and his wife prayed for him to get him out of Detroit. So that, right then and there. So he didn't want to be here, and now we had a situation where, you got to understand from the standpoint of view of Duren, is that they told me to go out there and prove it. I asked for the 30 ball last year. They told me, what, go out there and prove it. Maybe they could have got him for 25 last year. Maybe that was the sticking point. And now they was like, go prove it. And he proved it, and they told him, the NBA told him, thinking about it from this perspective, the NBA told him that he made all NBA third team. Like it or not, you go back, well, Halliburton wasn't there, and this guy. And what I don't like is how the NBA has continued to push a narrative of positionless basketball, right? Because what's so funny is now that we're going around saying that basketball is positionless, right? We're going around saying that, but now all of a sudden, then you got people trying to see it the way of position basketball. Well, saying, well, John Collins is really a small forward, or Trey Murphy ain't really a power forward. He's really a shooting guard, which he's not. But people just basically going off physical stature. If we being honest, Aaron Gordon is probably really a small forward going back in the days. You know what I'm saying? So we starting to kind of really have these kind of conversations where now people are trying to take it like basketball is about size and speed, and it's really not. It's not as much as about size as it once was in previous, in previous generations. So so I, and what I'm pretty much meant by the whole thing is how they kind of took the center out the award category. I didn't like that. How they took the center out of basketball, like out of this award. No, it should be a center on every all NBA second and third team. All this whole thing where we going out there with 4 guards on all NBA, even in the All-Star game, even when before they reformatted, which I don't really, that should let you know we got a problem with people don't even want to compete for the fans, right? Even before they reformatted, they out there with 4 wings and somewhat that look like a center. No, that's the problem. Nobody want to play their gender roles in the real world, and nobody want to play their position roles in basketball. Everybody want to be something that they wasn't built to be. You got centers and big fellas wanting to be guards. No matter if you're a center or guard, you ain't gonna never be Kobe. You ain't gonna be as popular as Allen Iverson. You ain't gonna be as popular as LeBron James. In the history of basketball, there has never been a big fella that's outshined the guard. It's just never, even at Shaq's pinnacle. Even at Shaq, and I'm about to put on the screen the update. Give me a minute. Even at Shaq's pinnacle, he never really outshined Penny. Penny had the better shoe. That was kind of part of the jealousy. Penny had the better shoe. He really never outshined Kobe for real. He just admitted on one of the interviews that he didn't. Kobe he didn't get as much love from the Laker fans as Kobe did. That's just the way it is. When you 7 foot and you one of the big fellas like that, you ain't gonna outshine. You ain't gonna outshine these guards, bro. It's a guards game, bro. It really is. But here we go. So it says no clear suitor shot to everything Pistons. No clear suitor besides the Detroit Pistons for Jalen Duren as of right now via ESPN. At this point in the offseason, there are no teams with cap space to sign Jalen Duren to a 45-plus contract. Main contract is what he's looking for. The Pistons and Duren would need to find middle ground to make the deal work. It's already August and still no extension. So, obviously, it's not even about having cap space because you just going to straight trade player for player. Now, the Pistons can go and say, well, if we're going to get rid of him, we need a center. And it ain't that many centers walking around now. Especially once you done gave up Isaiah Stewart to kind of help fill that back end void. But in general, if you, were to make a particular deal, then you would have to make probably a hockey deal or, hockey assist deal where you try to go out there and try to take some of these pieces that you got and get a center, whether it's Clint Capella, Steven Adams, maybe you go to one of these lesser teams and try to get a center off of them. But, the one thing about it is you got to ask yourself, in what category does Jalen Duren really shine? The one category he really shines in is he's an elite athlete for his position and his potential. You can see the way kind of he can handle the ball, he can pass the ball. You can see kind of the jump shot, kind of the mechanics look pretty comfortable. So kind of when you start kind of zero in on some of the things that, he can do or potentially can do, it's hard to find that in the league. Now, everybody going to say, well, he need to shoot the ball. I think it's more about a focus when you got a guy like him. He need to really master, being like Patrick Ewing, master being consistent. Like 19 and 10, that's a good start for what a third, fourth year player. But we need really, he could be 25 and 13. The consistency now, trying to string those consistent games together. But people are gonna point to the playoffs, and that's fair game. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody gotta crawl before they walk. And I get it, y'all be like, oh, they gave him this $1 million. He better start off running. But it's always a process. It's always a process to it. So, I mean, he ain't got nowhere to go. But like I said, I'm not one of these people that say what he should and shouldn't deserve as far as getting to his money. You know, I get it. If I was entitled to $50 million a year, whatever it may be, guess what? You know, I'm gonna want the whole 50. You know, but where's no suitors out there, the reason why there is no real suitors out there, even at this point, we know the answer to why it's no real suitors. There's no real suitors out there because the Pistons haven't made him available. That's it. You know, the King said we got Sabonis, which in general, you know, some people may not think that's a bad move. He just ain't never available. So that's the issue. You know, so, you know, but ultimately we don't know what Jalen Duren can fetch on the open market. That's the problem. We don't know what he can fetch on the open market. So in general, it always Trajan Langdon's legacy is gonna boil down. It's gonna boil down to a couple things, y'all, bro. It's gonna boil down to a couple things, man. His legacy is truly going to boil down to the 2026 trade deadline, and it's going to boil down to the 2027 trade deadline. And that's it. When you look at it, that's what his legacy is going to get to. 2026, 2027 trade deadline. Okay. So, I mean, ultimately, I know it's hard to have suitors when you have a team that's not willing to deal you. But I'm of the belief, and I'm a hard believer in this, and I understand why the Pistons can't really be a hard believer. If you don't want to be here, man, you can get the hell on. You can get the hell on, bro. If you don't want to be here, you can get on, man. I hate people that try to convince people to say, stay. And the Pistons, you know, if he don't want to be here, bro, I'd have been dumped this motherfucker to keep it a being with you. You know, but they should have had this figured out. Well, they must have already figured out that Isaiah Stewart didn't want to be here. You know, they already had that figured out. And I continue to say this, and I'm not even going to speak too much longer on this subject. But I continue to say this time and time again. I don't think Trajan Langdon really wanted him here. I don't think Trajan Langdon was really a fan of him, because for the last couple seasons, you know, going into this offseason, before this offseason, we heard them that Trajan been here. We heard them kind of like, you know, we kind of heard them be associated with Vujovic, Miles Turner. Remember, we was like, damn, you know, I was like, what they gonna do with Stewart then? So they already been trying to kick his ass out the door. And I want to highlight something in this Beef Stew article that he did. I read it. You can watch it on, you can read it on ANDscape, like SCAPE.com. We can put Isaiah Stewart in the news and go to the news tab on Google. It'll take you to it. But he said something very, 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 very. It was two things that he said in this article, and I'm about to hit the blunt twice, switch lanes. No, I don't smoke. I just said that because Jeezy said it. But I want to zoom in a couple things. See, this is why it's always important to read. You know, reading don't really give you the gist of how can I say it? It don't really give you the gist of like where you can see the body language to see if it's kind of how serious but you know, it kind of give you more clarity on somebody saying something, especially if the quote is right. So he said, this is Stewart. I have just so much love for the city of Detroit. Stewart said, they welcome you with open arms, coming in at 19, instantly went to the community, naturally, blah, blah, blah. Stewart said he's still close to former Pistons general manager Troy Weaver, who was fired in 2014, now works with the New Orleans Pelicans. So he said he's still close with him, right? It says Weaver was replaced by Trajan Langdon, who was named the Pistons president of basketball operations. Stewart said Langdon told him during their first meeting in summer of 2024 that he could be a trade candidate. So right then and there, you know, some people can't handle the truth, and sometimes you say the truth to somebody, they never get over it. They never get over it. And the truth was Trajan was transparent with him. He was transparent with him. He told him straight up, hey, bro, I don't want you. I don't basically want you. I might trade your ass for the right trade. So his loyalty was to Troy Weaver, a guy that picked him, was probably patient with him. And then, you know, you get Trajan Langdon. I bring y'all could, you know, let me know if I'm wrong. Right around Trajan Langdon came in, he went to the bench. And Stewart don't have the condition or the durability to be a starter. But I say all this to say that. Say this right here. Just some of the rumors that they had about Jalen Duren, the rumors that was out there about him, They was always, obsessed with Vujovic and Miles Turner, stretch fives. I don't really think he was Trajan Langdon guy. I don't think he was Trajan Langdon guy. That's just my personal opinion on it. I don't think he was Trajan Langdon's guy. Y'all can tell me if I'm wrong. I'm a little off. I don't think he was this guy. And I think, I'm not saying they had a similar conversation, but if they did have a similar conversation, or Jalen Duren felt the same way because he was picked by Troy Weaver, if he felt the same way, then I got to tax you because I really don't fuck with you like that. You've been trying to knock me off my pivot. I was willing to do this $30 million last year for you. Now, I made all NBA third team. I had 19 and 10. I didn't show up the last two playoffs, and you heard what Beef Stew said about him not showing the last two playoff spots. He said that it was just the playoffs. So, but I'll read this quote real quick. I'll put it back on the screen. I'll read this quote real quick so y'all understand. He said something similar on ESPN or to one of the reporters. He said it's tricky, but Duren proved his worth. What he's asking for to the organization. If you ask me, Stewart said they act like they wanted him to prove it before the season. I felt he proved it. He was an all-star, third NBA team, third team All-NBA. I feel like he should get paid. He's a huge piece of the core. Bring him back. He's been getting better every year. Third year All-Star. Like, come on, give him the bag. But at the same time, I hope it works out, and I hope he gets his money at the end of the day. Now, on ESPN, he said that, he feel like they just looking at Duren, paraphrasing what the reporter said, they just looking at what he didn't do in the playoffs and not weighing what he did in the regular season. So that's pretty much saying like the playoffs was just a small portion of what I did, but look at what I did in the regular season. So he's trying to like minimize the playoff shortcomings. So I mean, everybody want to see it their way. Everybody want to see it their way, but in general, to his defense, he ain't fuck with me. I'm telling you, there ain't no other way I can say it. He ain't fuck with me like that. If I didn't perform this year, I probably would have got traded, or I probably wouldn't be here. So since back then you ain't want me, now I'm hot. Now I'm hot. Y'all got to pay me. Y'all got to pay me. Y'all made me lay on my knuckles last year. Y'all got to pay me. You got to pay me for my pain and my suffering. Juwan Buchanan Duren at this point ain't getting what he want. Time to come back to Detroit for another year player. It's gonna be more than another year. So now we know why Reese dumped him. Well, hey, gotta ask her. No one's paying him 40 plus. Well, Sacramento was willing to do it. Now we don't know what the Lakers was willing to pay him. So that's a great question. What were the Lakers willing to pay him? So that's what I want to know. What was the Lakers willing to pay him? Were they will like that's my thing. That's what the transparency. It was made it seem like Sacramento was willing to pay him whatever the max they can give him, 40, 45 for 4. It seemed like Sacramento was willing to pay him, right? Now, were the Lakers willing to pay him the 40, 45, or was it like I'm gonna take a little less because it's LA? And that's insane. Well, I can understand why one could take less in LA. Because maybe you can make it up in endorsement, but living in LA, the taxes is crazy in LA. What you get taxed in LA is insane. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, what you get taxed in LA is insane. That's a fact. What they, and then the cost of living in LA is insane. Especially you start. So you really gonna take a less money to go to LA, where your money not gonna stretch as long. So I don't know if I can see that, bro. Him going to LA for less money, but I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe he was willing to just get the fuck out of Detroit and take less money in LA. Now, Penny, ex-coach Penny Hardaway said his heart is here. So, I mean, that's to him. He said in Holland's development. I mean, yeah, we get there. He said I come in to the Mike Jones league. Yeah, he did it. He doing interviews on he got an interview on Outta Dialogue. It's pretty good. He said, going to see the Mystics, need to get my hoops fixed on. Yeah, you down bad, buddy.